Okay, this is the first 17 questions for the review for the final. The first question I have up here is a quadratic. And what you're going to do is you're going to say, well, this is positive 4x squared, so that's going to be a happy face parabola. It is a quadratic, and we have to figure out the axis of symmetry. And the formula for the axis is right here. So x equals the negation of b over 2 times a. And in this case, the b value is 16. So the negation of 16 over 2 times 4, which is negative 16 over 8, which is negative 2. So your axis of symmetry is 2. So that's the information you need to describe this graph for this question. Moving on to number 2. She has 3 roots for one selection and 5 for the other. So we just have to do 3 times 5, and there's 15 roots for her to go. Number 3 is just you see the word C, or I'm sorry, committee, and you choose C. 9 choose 7, or 9C7. You can do that on your calculator for the answer. Number 4, you and 2 friends, so that's a total of 3 friends here, and so that's where these 3's come from. And it's a C because you're choosing groups of toppings. The top is the 8 meat toppings, so that's where this 8 comes from, and the bottom is all the toppings on a pizza, or all the groups of toppings, including vegetables and meat. That's this. So it's a probability, so we make a fraction, and then you can figure out the answer to this fraction on your calculator. Number 5 is a pretty quick question. You're going to add 5 to both sides, and let me erase this here. Add 5 to both sides, and you're going to get C is less than or equal to 11. As we had the number line drawn just now, you're going to draw your number line, put an 11 in the middle, and put a solid circle there, and you're going to go to the left because it's less than, and C is going to be over here, and you can add numbers to show that C is less than, and over here would be greater than on the number line. Okay, moving on to number 6 and 7. This is scientific notation, so we want to have a single digit less than 10, a decimal, the rest of the number without the zeros, and then we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 places we'd have to move that over, so we put 10 to the 9th. The next one is similar, except we're moving it the other way. We're going to go 1, 2 places backwards, so 8.05, and since we went backwards, it's to the minus 2. Number 8 is a multiplication question. What I've done is I've multiplied 9 times 7 to get 63, and then I multiplied 10 to the 7th times 10 to the 9th, and when you do that, you get 10 to the 7 plus 9, so that's where the 16 comes from. And then we have to put it in scientific notation, so we put the decimal point, but you have to increase the power by 1 to have it proper, or the proper form. Simplify using the vertical method, which it says vertical, but it really means box method or distribution or distributive method. Either one is allowed here. So you're going to make your box 2k squared minus 4k minus 3, 2k plus 3. I'm going to multiply through. 2 times 2 is 4. K times k squared is k to the third. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. K times k is k squared. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And there's no k, so we just leave the k from the 2. And then we do the same thing with the 3. So 3 times the 2 is 6k squared. And 3 times the negative 4, negative 8k. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. And then you're just going to combine the diagonals here to get your final answer. So there's nothing to combine with the 4k cubed. 6 and negative 8 is going to be negative 2k squared, negative 2k squared. And negative 8 and negative 6 is negative 14k. So this is negative 14k. and we have the negative 9 at the end. So that is your final answer. Again, don't be afraid of the vertical method. It just means to distribute it, or but use the box method. Number 10, this is the solution and how you do number 10. So I'm going to go through and I see that 16 is a perfect square. That's 16 times 10. I take that square root, because the square root of 16 is 4, and then I take my, that's as far as I go with this is the 4, and as far as I can go with that, and I combine it with that, and that's where I get this information and that final answer. Moving on to 11 is a similar question. I have the solution up there, but let's walk through it. So I have the, let's leave the negative 3 alone for right now, and we're going to work on the 180, the radical 180. Up here, I use 9 first, and I work my way through it. I'm not going to do that with this one. I'm going to make it a little easier on myself. Let's push this over here. So I know 36 goes into here, and it's going to go 5 times. A radical 36 times radical 5 is 180. So I could break that down into 6 radical 5, that part. But I still have the negative 3, and I still have the h to the 4th. The radical h to the 4th, this is the same thing as h squared. Remember, we divide this by 2, and that's how we get the number out front. There's 2 pairs of h's in there. So I have the h squared on the outside, I have the 6 on the outside, and I have the negative 3. So I need to combine all those things together. Okay, so I'm going to combine negative 3 times 6 times h squared, and then we're going to multiply that by the radical 5. So this is, the final answer is going to be negative 18 h squared radical 5. Okay, moving along to number 12. I see a perfect square on the bottom, so I just take the square root of 81 is 9, and I'm done. Can't do anything with the radical 10. Moving on to 13. You can divide 5 into 400, and that's where we get radical 80. And then here's the breakdown: 16 times 5 for radical 5. This is another way to do it that someone else in the class said they could do it this way. They knew radical, so this is a different way to do this one, maybe more difficult. Radical 400 they knew was 20. Radical, I'm sorry, not radical, was 20 over radical 5. Then you have to rationalize the denominator here. So multiply the top and bottom by radical 5. So I get 20 radical 5 over 5, which is really 4 radical 5, because 5 goes into 24 times. So either way you do it, you get the same answer. Moving on to, what do we have? 15 is SOHCAHTOA, and we've done several of these in class. I want the opposite, and I have the adjacent, so I'm going to use tan. Again, if you have to pause the video to see how this is done, this says the tan of 57, or the tangent of 57, times 6. That's how I'm going to solve this for x over here. And I get that, I get x equal to 9.23, and it says to the nearest tenth, so I get that is x. And that's a reasonable amount. 9.23 is reasonable since this is 6. And this degree up here is going to be less than 57, so it should be more than, the 9.3 should be more than the 6. That's a quick check. Number 14 is right here. I did it a couple of ways, I think, here. But let me just start over, be easier. I'm going to square both sides, and I have 2x plus 7 equals 5x minus 8. It's linear, so to the first power, so I just need to get x's grouped up. I'm going to bring the 2x over. Okay, and that's going to give me 3x here. And at the same time, I can add the 8 over to the other side, and that's going to get me 15 here. And you can see here, divide by 3, x equals 5. And then we're going to do a check, and on the final, you do need to check your work. So I'm going to put in a 5, so radical 2 times 5 plus 7, is that the same as radical 5 times 5 minus 8? And it does, they do both come out to be radical 17, so it checks. So you put your answer is here, and you checked it on your calculator. Looking at number 15, this is done again. A little messier here, but yeah, let's move on. Number 16 is the work problem. We have to get a common denominator. We've done these several times in class. Common denominator of 3780. Okay, each denominator needs something different. The 9 needs a 420. The 7 needs a 540. The 6 needs a 630, and the 10 needs a 378. So that's going to produce this whole top right here. This whole top here is what we have to solve. So what I did was I added up each one of these, and I got 1968 n equals 3780, and I divide both sides by 1968, and I get 1.92. And on the exam, you're going to have to write in a complete sentence. It will take all of them to do the work in 1.92 hours. Okay, moving on to 17. 17 is a bit difficult question, but I'm gonna this is the solution. So if you wanted to pause the video and see the solution, that's fine. I'm gonna start from the beginning here because it is a little bit complicated. And this, you have to be able to do this in 9th grade math. We need to be able to find something in point slope, in standard form, and the test is also going to ask you for slope intercept form. So first of all, let's start with the slope, which is the m value, which is equal to the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so we're going to just solve that on this problem. I'm going to start with the 4 and subtract it from the minus 1. 4 minus 1. One way to do this is, so you don't mess up your negative signs, is to put the subtraction in there and then fill the numbers in afterwards. So 4 minus 1 and 8 minus 2. So that's going to be 4 minus 1 is 5 over 8 minus 2, which is 6. So our slope is 5, 6. Okay, so you need to, we need to put that slope and the points and put it in point slope form. Well, point slope form, what is point slope form? Well, it is what it says. You need a point, which is the y1 value, and the slope, m, and the x1 value. So you need a point and the slope to figure this out. Well, in this case, we have 2 points and 1 slope. So we're going to take the 2 and the minus 1 and the 8, comma 4, and we're going to create our point slope form for each one using the slope of 5, 6. So this is just a matter of substitution, and you'll have your answer for this section. So it's y minus, well, we're going to minus 1, so it's really plus 1, equals 5, 6, x minus 2. I got those numbers from right here. Now over here, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to use this ordered pair. My y is 4, and my x is 8. So y minus 4 equals the same slope, 5, 6, x minus 8. Okay, so that's the answer to put it in point slope form. The next step is going to ask you for slope intercept form. And I'm not sure why this is here. Next one's going to ask for slope intercept form. Okay, so how do we get these in slope intercept form? Well, we have to solve this. We need to distribute the 5, 6 to both things. And we're going to do the same math on each one. So we're going to turn out to have y plus 1 equals 5, 6, x minus 10, 6. I'm just going to write 10, 6 because 5, 6 times 2 minus the negative 2 is negative 10, 6. So y minus 4, we're going to do the same thing here. 5, 6, x, and then 5 6 times negative 8 is going to be negative 40 over 6. Now you just need to do math here and subtract 1 from each side. But instead of subtracting 1 from the side, I'm going to subtract 6 over 6, which is the same as 1. Here, I'm going to add 4 to each side, but instead of adding 4 over here, I'm going to add 4 times 6, which is 24 over 6. It might be a little tricky. You might have to do it on your calculator. So y equals 5, 6, x, and negative 10, 6. If I combine these two together, I get negative 16 over 6. Okay, let's check over here. Y equals 5, 6, x, and negative 40 and 24 is also negative 16 over 6. So it checks. I have the right line. So I guess that was the next answer. Your third step is to put this in standard form. They're both the same, so put it in standard form. We're just going to bring the y over by subtraction. So the 5, 6x is going to stay, but the y is going to come over by subtraction. The negative 16 over 6 is going to stay. Now this is standard form now, but to get integers, I'm going to multiply everything by 6 to get rid of the 6 on the bottom here. So I'm going to multiply this by 6. That's going to give me negative 16. I'm going to multiply this by 6. That's going to give me negative 6y. And if I multiply this by 6, it gives me 5x. And of course, 0 times 6 is just 0. So this is standard form, or standard form. You could also write it this way and have the 16 be on that side. So, and either answer here is correct. So this question here is asking you several things about 9th grade math here. So the first thing it's asking you to do is find the slope. You need to know the slope formula. So the slope formula, you need to know this formula, and you have to use it correctly. Then you have to know the point slope form and use that correctly to get this answer, or these two answers here. Then you have to use your math skills down here to get this to check this, and that's your slope-intercept form. And then finally, you have to maneuver things around to get your standard form. So on the final exam, you are required to be able to do each one of these steps here. And take them one at a time, and it's not as bad as you think. If you look back, stand back and look at it, slope is very doable, very easy to calculate with a calculator. Plugging in these values for your x and y is very doable to get this answer, and the same here. Again, it's minus x and minus y. That's why the sign changes in these. And then just crossing the line, changing the sign, and doing the math here to get these two answers, which result in this final standard form answer. So that looks a little marked up there, but definitely not asking you more than what you can do in 9th grade. And even so, you did a lot of this in 8th grade. So please be confident that you can do this. Okay, so I believe that's the last question, or maybe 18 was on the next video. Okay, and I think that is it. So please study, make sure you can do these problems without looking, try them on your own, and you'll do well on the exam.